Time being 7 o'clock, I call the Hastings City Council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, and let the roll reflect we do have a full council. Little difference tonight. Our microphones are not working, so we'll be passing this when council members need to speak. We have a little technical difficulty going on, so as far as presentations, these cameras will not be taken or be able to be used, but the one in front will. Largest meeting we've had in a while, and we have a technical. So please bear with us, be patient, and we will get through it as painless as we can. We do have a quorum, as I stated. Tonight we will be reading a proclamation recognizing Arbor Day. Councilmember House, would you please start?
Thank you. Whereas the City of Hastings declares Friday, April 24th as Arbor Day, and whereas the City of Hastings has celebrated Arbor Day since 1997, planting trees in different parks and spaces identified by the city forester, and
whereas the purpose of Arbor Day is to encourage and educate Hastings residents in tree planting, developing civic pride and a sense of community, and whereas properly planted trees are resilient to pests and disease and will provide clean water, air, and help offset greenhouse gas emissions, and
whereas Arbor Day 2026 will be held at Pleasant Park Friday, April 24th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., where 13 trees will be planted, mulched, and watered, and
whereas Arbor Day 2026 is a partially sponsored by Dakota Electric, Hoffman, McNamara, and Hastings. The City of Hastings is appreciative of these civic-minded groups to help make this event possible. And
whereas the City of Hastings has been recognized as a Tree City USA community by the National Arbor Day Foundation since 1997, celebrating 29 years. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor of the City of Hastings, do hereby proclaim April 24th as Arbor Day in Hastings, Minnesota. Thank you, Council. Tonight we have always a very exciting night when we bring new employees in and recognize past employees. This evening we will have our employee start with our past police chief, Dave Wilski, will be swearing in our new police chief, Kyle Lynchett. Chief, welcome back.
thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
There we go. Mayor, thank you. It has not even been a week, and I'm in front of you again. So, with that said, Mayor, council members, city leaders, thank you for the opportunity to attend tonight's council meeting. I have the honor of introducing
I'll be walking copies.
I can just talk loud.
Turn back.
Check. It's working. Check. Is that on? Okay. So I have the honor of introducing to you Hastings' new police chief for the administration of the oath of office. Tonight's swearing in of Commander Kyle Lynchett gives me great pride and excitement for the future of the Hastings Police Department. We are developing strong leaders to ensure the safety and security of our great city now and into the future. We were standing up here 4 years ago when Kyle took the oath for the commander position. He has developed into a phenomenal leader and administrator. And I know I referenced him as Commander Kyle Lynchide. He's always going to be Commander Kyle Lynchide. I know you're chief now, so I apologize for that. But before we do the oath, just a little bit about Kyle's education and experience. Kyle graduated from St. Agnes High School in 2003, Winona State University, with his bachelor's degree in 2007. He also attended the Minnesota BCA Supervision and Management course in 2016, Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command Class 508 as well. Kyle was a patrol officer for the city of Hastings from 2008 to 2011. He was a school resource officer from 2011 to 2014. He was an investigator from 14 to 15. He was on the Dakota County Drug Task Force, sergeant team leader from 2015 to 2017, and then patrol sergeant until 2022 when he became the commander of the police department. So I did want to use artificial intelligence before I drift off into the sunset. When I plugged in the badge as a symbol, it spit out the following. The badge represents authority, public trust, and commitment to service. The badge acts as a silent declaration for the wearer of their oath to act with integrity, fairness, and accountability. It represents a promise to protect and a willingness to sacrifice personal safety for others. I could not have said that better myself, and I don't know where AI has been my whole career. Tonight, the badge will be pinned on Chief Kyle Lynchide by his wife, Katie Lynchide. But before we do that, we are going to read the oaths. So Chief Lynchide, I provided you a copy because I'm kind. And I'm going to have you raise your right hand, and you're going to repeat after me. I'll hold the microphone because you're out of hands. I, Kyle Lynchide, do solemnly affirm.
I, Kyle Lynchide, do solemnly affirm
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
The Constitution of the State of Minnesota and the ordinances of the City of Hastings.
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota and the ordinances of the City of Hastings,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police chief for the City of Hastings.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer for the City of Hastings,
Counties of Dakota and Washington and State of Minnesota.
counties of Dakota and Washington, and the State of Minnesota,
According to the best of my judgment and ability.
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
I will always uphold the Constitution of my community and the agency I serve.
And now, Katie, I'm going to have you come up and pin the badge on your sheet. Please help me. Thank you. Thank you again for the honor of coming back. I appreciate it.
Chief, you're on.
Kevin had to talk in front of people like this and get some time. Good evening. I'm very humbled and honored to accept the role of police chief of the City of Hastings. I want to thank the mayor, the city council, city leadership, police department, and the community for your trust and confidence. Public safety is a shared responsibility. Strong partnerships with residents, businesses, schools, and community organizations are essential to prevent crime, build trust, and solve problems together. I am committed to open communication and meaningful collaboration with our community. To the men and women of Hastings Police Department, including our dedicated records division, you have my full support. Your work on the street and behind the scenes is critical to our success. I will work to ensure you have the training, resources, and leadership needed to serve safely, professionally, and with integrity. Your commitment is the backbone of this department. To my predecessors and current mentors and partners in HPD, notably Chief Wilski, Chief Schaefer, do you mind raising your hand? Deputy Chief Showalter, thank you. I also want to recognize and thank the families of our officers and staff. Your support, sacrifice, and understanding make this work possible, and our department is stronger because of you. And to my friends, family, parents, siblings, my mother and father-in-law, their kids, my extended family, and especially my wife Katie and our children, I'm grateful for your love, encouragement, and support. Looking ahead, we will continue to focus on proactive policing, transparency, investment in our staff, and continuous improvement. And together we will build on our strengths and prepare for the challenges of tomorrow. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to serving alongside you. So now, okay, I was going to say for my first, thank you for my first part of my official duties. Tonight I have the honor of administering the oath of office to 2 new officers in the Hastings Police Department. So Officer Aaron Musburger and Isaac Anderson, step forward. All right, Officer Aaron Musburger grew up in Chisholm, Minnesota, and after graduating high school, attended Hastings Community College, where he earned his associate's degree in law enforcement. Aaron was hired as a police officer by the city of Chisholm in 2018 and rose to the position of patrol lieutenant. In his free time, Aaron enjoys fitness-related activities like working out and playing basketball. Officer Isaac Anderson grew up in Mankato, Minnesota, and attended Mankato East High School. Isaac pursued his law enforcement education at Minnesota State University, Mankato, earning his law enforcement degree. Isaac worked for campus security while attending college, and upon completion of school was hired by the North Mankato Police Department in 2024. Isaac enjoys being with friends and family when not at work. And tonight, the badge will be pinned on Officer Aaron Musburger by his girlfriend Maria, and the badge will be pinned on Officer Isaac Anderson by his girlfriend Steph after I administer the oath. So each of you, please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Aaron Musburger,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and the ordinances of the City of Hastings,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and the ordinances of the City of Hastings,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer for the City of Hastings,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer for the City of Hastings,
counties of Dakota and Washington,
the counties of Dakota and Washington,
and State of Minnesota,
and the State of Minnesota,
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
according to the best of my judgment.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
serve. Maria and Steph, would you like to step forward? Please join me in congratulating our community. And we're also recognizing some new employees with the city in general, but I have the honor of recognizing our newest member of the Police Administrative Specialist 2, Caitlin Matt. I won't make you stand up since you're holding the job. Raise your hand. Fine, so everybody. Caitlin grew up in North Branch, Minnesota, and currently resides in Roberts, Wisconsin with her husband and 3 children. Caitlin holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Most recently, Caitlin owned and operated her own child care business and has 5 years prior law enforcement experience as a correctional officer and sergeant at the Chisago County Jail. Caitlin enjoys camping, watching hockey, spending time with friends and family, and spending time at the family camp. Welcome, Caitlin. We could just stick around for a couple more minutes. We have 2 other introductions that
And no oath. We could come up with an oath perhaps for the next council. Okay, it is my pleasure, Mayor and Council, to introduce 2 other employees that have joined us who are not working with the police department, though it seems like we've got a great turnout here. First, the Finance Department is very excited to have Kelly Walker join their team. She started with the city on February 3rd in a temporary role, but became a permanent City Hall Administrative Assistant on March 30th. We're glad to have her here. Prior to coming to the city, Kelly was most recently employed at the town of Troy as a deputy clerk and treasurer. She currently resides in River Falls, Wisconsin, and her interests include spending time with her children, her grandchildren, camping in the summer months, and reading in her spare time. So please help me welcome Kelly to the city of Hastings. Welcome to the communications intern, Ellie Mekla. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us either this evening. Ellie is a junior at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, studying graphic design and marketing communications. She's developing social media posts, writing articles, taking photos, and producing video reels to help tell the Hastings story. In her free time, she enjoys traveling, crafting, cooking, spending time with friends and family. So also welcome, Ellie.
All right, always very exciting evening for the community, for sure. Council members, are there any corrections to the minutes from the workshop and the regular meetings on March 16th? Seeing none. Comments from the audience. At this time, we will have comments from the audience. Either we will not have Zoom, so just in person. And we ask the attendees step to the podium, state your name and your address, and tell the concerns to the council. And please leave your limit of conversation to 3 minutes. Anyone wish to speak to the council at this time? And we have no Zoom. So, moving forward, council members, are there any items to be considered? Okay. Council, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Pemble with a Councilmember Lawrence, a second. Any discussion, council? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion, state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Tonight, under awarding of contracts, we have a new massage therapy establishment license for Integrated Body Center at 121 3rd Street. And for this item, we will have an introduction by Assistant City Administrator Kelly Murtaugh, followed by a public hearing and a potential action by City Council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a long voice. I think I can pull this off. Here we go. Thank you. I'm here to talk about the new massage therapy establishment license for Integrated Body Center, which is just down the street. We're asking you to consider this. The licensing period would be January 1, 2026. So already passed through December 31, 2028. They are 3-year licenses, and they're 3-year licenses. So city staff is required to notify any property owners or businesses within 350 feet, and have done that with the new establishment. There have been no comments or concerns raised at all by anyone in the area. The city received and reviewed the completed application. It meets the requirements outlined in ordinance. And we have received all of the proper fees, documentation. The inspections are all completed, building and fire, and the establishment owner has completed a background check. So we have ticked off all of the boxes for this entire establishment license, and I encourage you to now hold the public hearing if you're ready, or I'll certainly entertain any questions if you have.
I'll hold the public hearing first, and then council have any questions for you. Okay. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to the council at this time? One more time, no one wants to speak to the council at this time. I will close the public hearing. Open discussion to council. Councilmember House.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to move forward with the resolution approving the new massage therapy establishment license for Integrated Body Center at 121 3rd Street.
Thank you, Councilmember House, and a second by Councilmember Lightfoot. Any discussion, council? All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. And that motion is passed. All right, under awarding of contracts for 15th Street and Bailey Street Stormwater Basin Project. For this item, we will have a presentation by our Public Works Director, Ryan Stensky. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Yes, for the 15th Street and Bailey Street Stormwater Basin Project, we did receive 12 bids, so a very competitive bidding process back in the end of March 26th. So with those 12 bids, we did some research on the lowest responsible bidder, Clark Companies, a smaller company. We haven't worked with them in the past, but interviewing their key staff, checking some of the references and equipment lists, we think they can execute on this project. So they were quite a bit lower than the next low bid. So with that, staff is recommending award to Clark Companies to complete the project for a base bid amount of $188,970.50. And with that, I'll continue to stand for your questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, council? Councilmember House.
Thank you. Can you by chance speak to the last difference in calculations from each of these groups? It looks like there's quite a bit of difference, and I just wanted to make sure that there was any metric in that.
Yeah. You know, a lot of there's some material being hauled out, so sometimes if they have material needed on a job site versus not, that's a big expense there, or just some of the elements of other priorities. There's some big contractors in here where they would take the work because they're working in the region, but This is more Clark's company's bread and butter. So they're more tuned or sized for it, and some of these other contractors, they were very for it. If they got it, fine. They added to one of their projects, and so that's what sometimes when we see this kind of disparity. And they bring it over.
Thank you so much, that makes so much sense. I'd like to move forward with our resolution on more than contract with really stormwater basin project to the lowest responsible bidder towards companies would like to go around to $1,888,970.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis, and a second by Councilmember Fairchild. Any discussion, council? No discussion, all those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Those in the motion state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. We are awarding another contract for the 2026 mill and overlay project, and Ryan, you may continue.
Yes, so we stayed busy in Public Works. This is yet another project, our mill and overlay program here in 2026, all ready to get going. So we did open bids in the middle of March, March 19th, on this project, and we got 4 competitive bids on this project. So we worked with all of them in the past, but Northwest Asphalt had the lowest bid. Northwest Asphalt, if you remember them, they worked on our 2025 neighborhood infrastructure improvements, so we're very familiar with them. They've done other projects in Hastings. They do a great job, and so we're excited to have them as our lowest recommended base bidder on the project. We are not going to proceed with the alternate 1 and 2. That was just adding some additional streets and other components. The base bid falls within our $1 million budget for 2026. So we're at where we need to be to get the work that was planned up done this year. And that base bid amount is $985,406.70. Staff is recommending award to Northwest Asphalt for that.
Thank you, Ryan. Council? Councilmember Neville?
I make that motion to go with the 2026 mill and overlay project as presented.
And we have a motion on the table. And Councilmember Lightfoot will have a second. Any discussion, council? All those in favor of that motion state by saying aye. Aye. Those approved or opposed to this statement, state by saying aye. And nay, sorry. And the motion prevails. All right. We have also a 2026 neighborhood infrastructure improvements. And for this item, we will have an introduction by our consulting engineer, Cody Matheson. Welcome, Cody, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. As I get set up here, I did attempt to email all of you the presentation, so you had not, so hopefully that means it made it through the airwaves here. Okay, so we'll get started. So yes, tonight is part 3 of our neighborhood project meetings, our assessment hearing. A reminder, on March 2nd, we conducted our public improvements hearing, so tonight is strictly to talk about assessments, not the scope of the project. So we'll go through a brief presentation, then we'll look to conduct the actual hearing, and hopefully exactly that. Quick reminder of our project area, our project map. We've all seen this a few times now, but for those in the audience, in case you haven't, 4th Street West from Pleasant Drive to 3rd Street, and Pleasant Drive from Highway 55 to 4th Street. Our project this year with a mix of reconstruction and reclaim indicated in red and green colors there. As far as our assessment methodology goes, so this is really the key piece to how we conduct this process. So our special benefit analysis is conducted by a third-party independent appraiser. In this case, it was Valbridge. They completed the analysis on the 2025 neighborhood project, so it was largely a continuation of that analysis because these project areas are contiguous. Ultimately, the goal of that analysis and the data providing us is a range of special benefit anticipated for each property type based on market data and the type of project we're doing. So what does special benefit mean, right? Special benefit means the increase in value before the project is constructed versus after to be expected of these properties. And that margin effectively defines what the assessable amount of these properties is. Since 2023, we've been going with a per lot methodology here in Hastings. Effectively, what that means is lots of similar size and use get assessed flat rates. So single-family homes of comparable size get assessed the same as their neighbor. Likewise for townhomes, twin homes, different categories accordingly. The city does have a collector road policy on both 4th Street and Pleasant Drive are collector roadways. Effectively, when applied to this project, as compared to just utilizing the special benefit analysis, that would have ultimately resulted in a rate increase of about 5% to what we've ended up with here. So the ordinance gives us the flexibility to deviate from that process and use a methodology that's based on special benefit analysis. In this case, it would have been difficult to apply that collector policy as well, just because of the large variance we have in context, especially on Pleasant. So how we go about establishing those rates? The special benefit analysis ultimately recommends what those rates should be based on each property type. The city then takes those rates, takes 90% of that recommendation, and that is the rate that is set for the full reconstruction lots. On reclamation areas, we typically reduce that rate a little bit further, usually around 15%. And then the last methodology piece is corner lots and Hastings, so homes that are fronting more than one street are typically assessed the full rate on their short side, and then on their long side, they will only assess 25% of the Our 2026 lots breakdown is 54 single-family homes, 42 townhomes and twin homes. And we've got a few condos, 4 plexes, 4 commercial properties, being Robinson Estate Care, First National Bank, Aspen Dental, and then the Children's Community Center. We've also got 1 agricultural property, and the Kazemius Farm, and then a multifamily apartment building and municipal apartments. Jumping to the proposed rates, again, hopefully we're all still following my presentation that came through. We've got single-family homes listed at $6,300 per lot, townhomes and twin homes at $4,725 and $4,500 respectively, and then the remainder rates broke down there. As you get into the more specific properties, the special benefit analysis where there's one-offs provide an actual specific range to those parcels. As part of the total project cost, a very common question is, how much are assessments covering the total all-in cost to deliver this project? In this case, the roughly $675,000 that's going to be assessed makes up about 14% of the total project cost of just over $4.9 million. Just reiterating sort of the breakdown here, and also noting that assessments do get included in the cost of the bond for, since the city's going to anticipate getting reimbursed for those costs. The city needs to bond for those in the front, and then those funds come back to the city over the next 10 years for this particular project. The payment of assessments, how that ultimately works, from the assessed property owners, payments are accepted starting September 1st. No interest or fees are applied when the assessment is paid in full by October 30th. Partial payments are accepted, so ultimately here in 2026, residents can pay nothing, they can pay part, or they can pay all of their assessment. Any amount, regardless of how much, unless you pay the full amount, any amount remaining after October 30th is certified to be forthcoming property taxes, and that begins a 10-year payment plan. And that's shown here at roughly a 5% interest rate. Historically, it's been a little bit lower than that, but that's dependent on what the city's bond sale looks like this year. And that first payment for assessments will be in the spring of 2026. So if we look at a sample assessment here on a standard reconstruction lot, a standard reconstruction on this project will be $6,300 per lot. If financed entirely through the county property tax financing over 10 years at an estimated 5% interest rate, that looks like $800 per year, or just under $67 per month. We always want to make sure to stress at this hearing the financial aid that is available. Our assessment abatement that's available through Dakota County CDA through the Community Development Block Grant is anticipated to have sufficient funding in 2026. So good news there, we've got some funds left over from prior projects. Also assumed to be getting a allocation this year in 2026 to resupply funds into that into that bucket. So eligibility is income-based, so low or moderate income families are eligible for this assistance, and that eligibility is determined, and that's all that we listed in the packet that families will receive in July. All low-income families will be fully abated. Moderate income households, historically, the last 2 years have also been fully abated because we've had sufficient funds to do so. In the case that there was limited funds left over, moderate income families would spread what's left, or we spread out what's left of the funds with moderate income families. Also like to talk about our assessment deferral program. So those eligible to be senior citizens, those who are disabled, active military personnel. There's also a financial component to this eligibility. The first year's payment must be greater than 1% of homeowner's adjusted gross income. So in that same $6,300 assessment example, effectively someone would need to be under the roughly $80,000 income threshold to be eligible for the program. I'd like to be clear with this one that this is a deferral, it's not forgiven. This assessment is delayed with interest and grows over time, and then would come fully due with the sale of the home or a change of circumstance. Quick update on our project timeline. So we're just moving down the list here. April 6th, our assessment hearing. Friday this week is when we're scheduled to open bids. And then assuming all goes well with that, April 20th, we'll be back here to award a construction contract. And then early May is when construction will be ready to begin. That's all for my formal presentation.
Thank you, Cody. Yep, first we'll have the public hearing and then we'll have council discussion. Sorry. We held the improvement hearing on March 2nd. Tonight we will have the assessment hearing. Notice was mailed and to affected property owners as well as published in the newspaper. Formal objections to the proposed assessment must be written, signed, and filed either prior to or at the hearing. Any objective not received in this manner are waived unless due to reasonable cause. We ask that attendees either raise their hand in person or use the raise hand feature in Teams, which we can't do that, sorry, and they will be invited in to speak. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anyone that wishes to speak to the council, please step to the podium, state your name and your address. Opening the public hearing.
Hello, Madam Mayor, City Council members, good afternoon. My name is Ellen Sojak, and I'm an attorney. I represent Convenience Dairy Farms and Michelle Convenience. And I submitted a written objection on behalf of the property owners to the assessment. I also today have printed copies for additional, if the City Council members would prefer additional copies that are printed of the same objection letter. We just want to make sure that our objection is appropriate.
You can sure pass them out if you'd like. Anyone else wish to speak to the public hearing at this time? Anyone else? Okay. This time I will close the public hearing and open discussion for council. Councilmember Lightfoot.
Thank you, Honor. Cody, clarifying question for you, just as I'm reading through your documents here. When we refer to the twin homes, 8 of those at 4,725, 34 townhomes, 4,500, that's per door, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, that's what I was, all I needed to know. We ever determined the difference between
We did. Councilmember Beck, we got a handful of votes from our appraiser on that item. I think the shortest version, or shortest way to share that is just depends on is how they're valued. So twin homes typically only one shared wall, so maximum of 2 units. Whereas townhomes can more often than not are in a row of 4 or more. So I think it's a pretty small percentage difference, right? But even just that slight difference, it's also that twin homes oftentimes have more of a reduced HOA fee, so sometimes they'll get more value in terms of the actual cost of the properties that you're going to have lower fees associated with it. Not always true, but I think generally it's just a little small nuances based on slight difference in ownership and
Any other questions, council? Council, if we're no discussion, I would accept a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the assessment for project 26-1, 2026 neighborhood infrastructure improvements.
So, Mr. Honor.
Second. Councilmember Whitmore, on the motion, and Councilmember Campbell with the discussion. New discussion, council. Any discussion, council? I'm waiting and seeing. Anything? Okay. Well, I can't see lights, so I just want to make sure. All right, there has been a first and a second. All those in favor of that motion, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion, state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Cody, thank you so much. We also have an authorization for a signature for master grant agreement for the lead service line replacement program. And for this item, we have a presentation by the Public Works Director, Brian Stinson. Welcome back, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This program, obviously, we're not having as much fun today upstairs, but we're getting business done. So, the lead service line replacement program, we're moving into our phase 1 of that particular program. This is, we currently are, in the past year, we've been doing an inventory, trying to understand what we have for lead service lines across the city. So that includes lead lines and galvanized lines. So there's kind of a formula for how much the state gives out, and that cap is at $1 million per project. So right now, we can only go and get $1 million. So our grant application is going to be for $1 million. That covers about 50 homes from replacing from the curb stop out here in the street all the way into the home and connects back into that meter location. So that's what we're talking about here. It's kind of a complicated construction in the sense that we're pneumogorphing or drilling a line under the home into the basement floor in a square area and then reconnecting up the plumbing inside. But we're getting the lead out of our system that way, right, as a water system. So what this is you approved last council meeting a resolution to apply for that officially. And so we're in the process there, but there's a lot of steps that we have to go through with our loan officer for this grant program. Same loan officer we had as with the central treatment plant. So we're working through that process. We have to do some certifications. We have to get as-bids. That means we have to actually go get contractor pricing before we can deem that application complete. So in the meantime, the next step for council is to sign the terms and conditions to receive this money. So I don't know why the state makes it this complicated, but we have to officially sign this grant agreement that is the terms and conditions. Once we get through the application process and it's complete, we'll get something called a project order. And that project order will be yet another document that we need to execute. And that project order will have the specifics. It'll have the exact dollar amount. It'll reference the project as it is. It'll do more detail. This is more generic and overview of the terms and conditions. If we want their money, we have to sign it. Is basically how it works. So that's what's in your packet tonight. And like I said, that gets after our first 50-some homes of the replacement program. We'll continue to apply and reapply until we get through the hundreds and hundreds of lead and galvanized services that we have in Hastings. So there also is how we selected those first 50. There's a prescribed formula through the Department of Health. You get your lead service pipes out first, so we have a couple random ones there. But there are also other criteria, age of home, number of youth in a certain district. And so there's elements that we follow to select that first 50. So through that guidance, that's where we got the first 50, and we'll continue this program on. But this is phase 1. So with that, in your packet is the master agreement for signature. Any other questions, I'll continue to stand.
Any questions, Councilor Rivera?
Ryan, can we, high level, how many lead service lines?
So we have 5 lead service lines. We have a couple hundred galvanized, which has segments of lead in it, is why we're getting, why those qualify for the program as well. But that's a good,
I just wanted to bring that up.
good question. Yeah, it's not like we have hundreds of lead service, but there still is a reason to get the galvanized out, and that's what we're funding for.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lazo?
Thanks, John. Ryan. So I remember the flyer went out to the community asking people to check their pipes. Hypothetically, if somebody didn't check their pipes when they got that letter, you're saying 5 lead, a couple hundred galvanized. How does a homeowner know if they're one of those 5 or one of those couple hundred?
Yeah, so we're moving into trying to get the money secured, right, and to understand what we're going to attain and how many homes we can get done. I say about 50 because better pricing, we're going to do more. And so we don't know exactly those homes. We have a good idea what we're shooting for. We will move into later this month into sending out letters. We will start door knocking to those specific 50 and get them ready for this project. That'll happen more. We want to get the funding in place throughout the summer here, and then in August, September timeframe is when we'll start this project. So we have a little bit of time, but we will send out letters. We've already got them drafted up. We'll update our website, and if we don't get a hold of those folks, we'll start doing door knocking as well.
Is that based then on when the homes were built or by builder, or what's the?
Yeah, when the homes are built, geographic area, MDH has a survey of youth in the home. So they look at all these components and they give us criteria areas in your city, and that's what you need to go. We have a prescribed way of going first, second, third, etc. So using that formula, putting it all together, because many homes that the funding will allow. And now, yes, we're getting the funding secured through council, and now we'll deploy our letter in the next week, and we will start door knocking to those that don't respond to send that.
So then, to follow up on my homeowner question, do homeowners still need to verify themselves whether or not they've got lead or galvanized and get in touch with the city?
Yeah, and that's a good question. We still have a handful of people that haven't got back to us. So we worked, wasn't going to so
Hypothetical question.
Hypothetically, yeah, and some of them, age of the home, right? If you have a newer age home, we have all this information on our website too. So some folks look at that and they say, well, so we haven't specifically heard from everybody. We haven't knocked on every single home in the city, but we've done targeting, door knocking, we've done targeting areas. We're using the state money to do the research on where we should be targeting our resources. And we're pretty far along. I can't remember if we have, we have another 1,000 homes or so that we haven't, that we kind of targeted that we haven't heard from. So we might add to our list as we continue, but as you can imagine, it's hard to catch people sometimes, right? When they're not responding to the research survey or letters, or they're not home or door knocking. But we're continue to use the state funding on that side of the house to help us continue to go after that and get this fully complete for our community. But now that there's real funding available to fix the ones we have, we want to start the program. You want to start?
Based on that wonderful explanation, I make a motion to authorize the signature of the master grant agreement for lead service line replacement.
Councilmember Lightfoot with a second by Councilmember Campbell. I do have a question. When do they stop using lead, Ryan, or galvanized? I mean, do you have any idea when this?
I think 85, 86.
Okay.
1986 or newer, the state has said if you can document that,
Sure.
don't need to do anything. Because it's very likely that people have their own plumbing services done.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as standard and building operations, 1986 was the lead ban.
So part of our communication could be a home older than this.
It is, and we have
Okay.
woven that in. So,
Okay.
you know, some of those newer homes, they're not going to respond, but we know they're newer homes.
Sure.
So our work's kind of done there, right? But those 1986 and older, we haven't gotten full response from them either. So that's where I'm saying there's still a little bit of inventory to do. But yes, we're trying to take and piece together such a comprehensive inventory effort and, you know, look at our as-built or not, look at each homes and put that all together.
All right, thank you. There is a first and a second. Any other questions, council? All those in favor of the motion, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed to that motion, state by saying nay. That motion carries. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, under community development, we have a resolution for a request for Imagine 2050 community designation to change Metropolitan Council. For this item, we have a presentation, or we had a presentation from Community Development Director John Hinsman. Welcome, John. I don't know if you had a presentation or not.
I'll go through an explanation
Thank
here,
you.
city council members. So I'll explain a little bit in English what we're doing here, give a little bit of comprehensive planning on here. What we're asking for tonight is to adopt the attached resolution to change a community designation, which is a designation of the city of Hastings on the 7-county metropolitan council map, from suburban to suburban. I'll explain a little bit more about what that means and the implications of that a little bit here. A little bit of background, comprehensive planning. As you may recall, every 10 years the comprehensive plan must be amended and updated, and the next round starts up here very shortly. We need to get our comprehensive plan into Metropolitan Council review agency by December 31st, 2028. So we're gearing up within the next year to start this. Before we start this, Metropolitan Council is obligated to bring forward certain documents for guidance. One of them is this Imagine 2050. What this is a comprehensive guide for development within the Twin Cities. It's basically the roadmap that communities follow based on a lot of different things: transportation, land use, sewers, those type of things. Within Imagine 2050, there is a map in there that designates different communities for different types based upon development. There are places like Minneapolis and St. Paul that are going to be much more dense, much more urban, and have more dense development. There are other areas that are not going to have much dense development, and areas in between. And so that's what we're referring to here. And I'll get into the specifics of that in a little bit. The other is a system statement. The system statement is tailored specifically to each city. And they explain the implications of the Imagine 2050 and some of the system plans to the cities. And the cities have an opportunity to comment on that one. Now, with the community designation, we're designated in this plan for 2050 as a suburban designation. So what does that mean practically? It means that the city of Hastings, overall, through all development, would need to achieve a minimum density, net density of 7 units per acre, which is substantially higher than what we have charged today. Right now, under the existing system statement from the last comprehensive plan, we need to provide for 3 units an acre. So we're being asked to go from 3 units net to 7 units net. That's a substantial increase of what we have now. From a practical standpoint, we have been doing in the range of 6 or more net units per acre during that time. So from a practical standpoint, it's not as severe as it would look, but it is not the development pattern in which we have been developing historically. And when we take a look at the communities, and this was some of the stuff in your packet, that were designated similarly to what we were as a city back 10 years ago, with 3 units per acre. There was 23, 24 communities. Of those 23, 24 communities, all of them, except for 2, City of Hastings and St. Paul Park, were classified as a different designation with 3.5 units an acre. Certainly doable. Us and St. Paul Park were for some reason designated 7, so we did take issue with that. Well, why would it change? The community designations, when you take a look at some of those communities that we were paired with in the last comprehensive plan round and today, are similar to us. They are cities with historic downtowns with growth occurring. Places like Farmington, places like Savage, and Chanias, Chaska, Victoria, Mahoney. Places with historic downtowns, historic dense neighborhoods, and areas for growth. The designation that we're being proposed, or we have been put into, is a designation that is for fully developed suburbs, for your Egans, your Burnsvilles, those type of places, which we are not. The thing that is unique about Hastings, as you know, is we annex as we grow. So if you take a look at the boundary of the city of Hastings today, yeah, we're pretty full. But we know that there's going to be annexation that occurs in the periphery of it. Because we don't have any formal agreements with the townships to recognize that, Metropolitan Council can't officially recognize that. So it's always been a push-pull. But from a reality standpoint, most of the growth that we have, and what I've documented over the last 10, 20 years, is 67% of the growth we've had has been in those periphery areas. So we're requesting this change. Going back to the report again, what some of these designations mean. What does 7 units an acre mean in English? It's an acreage that's going to be a little bit denser on average than a townhome density, certainly not an apartment density. It doesn't mean that you can't have single family within Hastings, but it means when we do our comprehensive plan, the net, the average of all the development we do from places that are designated apartment over here, single family over here, would need to be at least 7. The practical difficulty we have that with the city is we know we're going to have growth of annexation outside that we can't officially count in, and how is that growth going to continue? So that's a challenge for us. So we are requesting by this resolution to change this designation. A little bit of history, we were served notification of this during the summer. We had a 60-day period in which to make comment. We did not do that. That is on me. When I looked at that statement, I did not see the implications of this. It was not clearly put forward. However, we were in contact with Metropolitan staff prior to the end of that 60-day deadline to talk about the Consenius property and implications of density and annexation. So shortly after that deadline, we had a meeting. One day after that deadline, we had a meeting with Metropolitan Council staff in which we found this out. And within a week and a half of that, drafted a letter to Metropolitan Council asking for the change. Since that December meeting, December letter, we met with Metropolitan Council on about 3 different occasions, had a number of phone calls. We're just not any closer to where we are at this point. We're requesting a pathway, and we're requesting a change that would be consistent so that we know this as we move forward in planning for our 2050 plan. So what we're asking for tonight is for you to adopt this resolution, which we would serve the Metropolitan Council. So we would ask that of you today. I will also note that Mark Jenkins, our Metropolitan Council member representative, is here tonight too, if you have any questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Council, any questions? Councilmember Layfield? Oops.
Thank you, Your Honor. Wow, that's a lot of information. So I'm going to dumb it down for myself here. So currently, so they want to change us to suburban because we're putting currently more than 3 housing units on an acre.
That would be my understanding.
Okay? So right now we're suburban edge. I've never even heard that term before tonight. So we're considered suburban edge. And if we allow them to call us suburban, then do we have to put more houses on an acre? Are we required by whatever this is?
As it stands right now, council member, with the suburban designation, when we average out all the city that we're going to be growing into, we have to average a minimum of 7 units per acre, net units per acre. That net unit, I should say, discounts out roads and easements and some other things with it, but that's what we would have to apply, which, when you look at our development pattern over the last 10 years, is a little more dense than what we have done.
Does that 7 accumulative, does that include apartments and townhomes and such?
Yeah, so if you have an apartment complex with, say, 20 units an acre, that'll help balance out areas that are maybe 3 units an acre.
Okay, I definitely see the benefit of us wanting to be suburban edge. I am concerned that they're not recognizing the fact that there is land around us. We do see as we go through, I'm just, not to pick on a neighboring community, but as I drive through County Road 46 heading to Rosemount, some new homes that you can practically get sugar from your neighbor by reaching out your window. This is what that seems like to me, is that a requirement to have to put more units on land is concerning to me, and that seems to be something that should be chosen by the developer and the city based on space. So I'm going to absolutely support the city going forward, and I'm going to make a motion to request a change to the Imagine 2050 community designation of the city of Hastings to the Met Council.
Chuck, wait, before you, I heard a second over here, correct?
Yep.
And a second by Councilmember Beck, just so we know we have a first and a second discussion, Council.
Thanks, John, for the information. I struggle with the point that we are this growing, massive community. We're not jumping over the hill or down through the valley to the south of us or up the hill, which isn't going to ever happen. And these other communities, I mean, if you're looking at Cottage Grove, yes, they're going to come down to the top of the hill. And Rosemont is eventually going to get over to the west of us. But Hastings as a community is not going to grow like that. And I would like to hear your perspective as to why, as a freestanding community with not any neighbors knocking on our door, and annexation for projects as they come through from developers is our growth. And to put us in a situation where, okay, we're jumping from suburban edge to suburban. A suburban means you've got, adjoining communities, and we don't have that. And I just want to hear from you your Met Council perspective on this, and even if we pass this resolution, will that have any effect on the overall decision by the Met Council for Hastings?
Are you okay, Mark?
I'm okay if you guys are okay. All right, thank you. Community Development Director Hinson did a great job presenting it. He presented both sides. I want to preface with, as a single council member out of 17, much like council members in front of me, I don't have any power to override staff decisions on my own. But I came down, I met with your staff earlier today to listen, to hear your guys' perspective. I want to start with, I'm going to say the bad news, and then I'm going to go to the good news. There's 3 challenges, I think, that are going to probably dictate that your resolution won't have a lot of success in the near term. First of all, as Mr. Hinsman recognized, the appeal date has come and gone. There is no window for a formal appeal. The second challenge is we can't make a 30-year plan on what might happen. And as much as there's a history of annexation, we have no guidance on whether you'll annex 2 acres or 20 acres or 200 acres. And it's hard for us to do a 30-year plan not knowing what that pattern is going to be. So it has always been the council's purview to make those decisions based on what the community outline is today or at the time of application, not what it might be. Those are two of the biggest challenges. The third one is this. You currently are in a neighborhood of 6 point something, and I'm sorry, it's only been a couple hours since we met last, so I don't have the exact decimal, but you're over 6 already. And if you look at the prior two statements, within your area, if you're at 6 something, one of the things that the Met Council is dictated by the legislature to do is do urban planning for the whole metropolitan region, which means we've got to find a place for that growing population. And if we took your designation from 6 to 3, that doesn't facilitate a lot of distribution of that population to your city. For those 3 reasons, my educated guess is an immediate change in your designation is not likely. Let me give you my promises to staff earlier today. Our staff has said that if your community changes significantly, I will admit I have no idea what the definition of significantly is. That's one of my takeaways. That could be 2 acres, 200, I don't know. I'm going to find out. But staff has said if there is a significant change to the community, to the city, we will reevaluate the community designation. So my promise is to go back to staff. What is that trigger? What takes you from normal development to significant? And understand, significant doesn't mean what's necessarily happening within today's boundaries. It's how much annexation you do that will redefine the distribution of Hastings population. So one is to find out, is there a trigger point, or what is that target for when we would look at a reevaluation? And then the second is, what is that process? What would we need from the community to document that, yep, you've changed? But right now, we're beyond the appeal date. You're at 6 point something, and as the metropolitan area grows, we're asking you to bump that to 7, is not, I believe, this is my opinion as a council member, is not an unreasonable expectation. I want to elaborate one more thing on what Mr. Hinsman said to help clarify for Councilmember Liefeld and everyone else. You could build all the single family you want based on your approved land use designations. So if you did low density housing in all of the areas you've dictated as low density housing, that's fine. Eventually though, you'll use up all your low density, you're going to have to start building medium. And then if at some point we've built up the low and the medium, and you want to do a new development, you're going to go, we've got high density left, and we're probably not going to do an amendment to redesignate that lower. So we're not dictating that any new development or any annexed land has to be 7, but using your land use mapping, at the end of the day, those should all balance out to an average of 7. So I'll be happy to take any other questions if you have.
Councilmember Lawrence?
So just looking at the maps and everything, just so I get it right, so essentially what you're saying is we don't have, the land that we have, we've used up, so we need to do, there's not more land, so we get our land, we annex, so then our borders grow, essentially.
So like you're looking at, like Rosemont is still suburban edge. Well, Rosemont is huge, but they just essentially already have the land. They're not annexing like we're annexing. Is that
Correct.
Okay, correct. That makes sense.
I think the keyword is density,
Yeah,
not total population.
yeah.
So Mark, when you say possibility of reevaluating,
Right.
you don't know what that is. Has it
Right.
ever happened before? And
I don't know if it's never happened, I've not been around that long, but I will certainly, as I committed to when I took the position, I'll certainly go to bat for you and find out. First of all, I want our staff to say, what do they consider a significant change? So we know where the goalpost will be, and then find out what that process is. So if it hasn't been done, it doesn't mean I won't fight to try to get us to do it.
Councilmember Layfield?
Mark, so my concern to this just sounds to me like we're limiting ourselves to who's going to be able to develop in our community. So if somebody comes in, and we've got somebody looking right now with a multi-density, right? There's gonna be some apartments out there, there's gonna be some multi-family homes, some single-family homes. If we had somebody come in and wants to annex, some of these farmers want to start selling on property, it sounds to me like by doing this, though, we could be putting ourselves into a limitation problem of, isn't it the developer, correct me if I'm wrong, John, that comes to the city and says, this is what we'd like to put here. We'd like to put a multi-family home development. We'd like to put a single-family home development. Are we sort of cutting ourselves at the kneecaps here by saying, boy, we might get to a spot where you want to come in and build these single-family homes on this development? Yeah, we can't do that because we got to get more houses. I don't understand that.
To clarify a little bit, first of all.
And we also, my apologies, we don't have a bus system.
No, I understand. First part is, you can address the density by not necessarily the number alone, but the density of the neighborhood. You can have single-family homes in a neighborhood, maybe with slightly smaller lots. But if you wanted to do one home per acre for an entire new annexation, you could. You're just making it more difficult for yourself down the road when you start to get in, when you start to use up your low-density land use designation.
Councilmember Campbell?
So, Mark, let's kind of lay this out a little bit better. The big picture says, okay, we're a small community of 10 square miles, and we're going to annex in the next 15 years, no, let's make it 10 years, we're going to annex 200 acres. And we use those 200 acres to build nice single-family homes on 10,000 square foot lots or whatever the deal is. But we're really pushing ourselves into a corner 10 years later or whatever, however we move, because as the more large lot, single-family homes are built in whatever's annexed, we're squeezing ourselves into a corner down the road, because eventually there won't be any more room to annex, and what little is available will be forced into multi-family homes or something that can get us a big population in a small, dense area.
That is possible, but there's also the possibility, and this is what my commitment has been, is I don't know if 200 acres might be enough for council, for our council, to say, okay, we need to revisit that. But as it is today, yes, you are correct.
Councilmember Campbell, Councilmember House?
Thank you. So I just want to clarify, so we would be going into suburban, 7 per acre, where Rosemont would stay suburban edge, but they have a growing population of where they've been growing consistently at a rate of 3.77 annually, which is one of the fastest growing in Minnesota. There are over 10,000 people more than us in that city. but yet we will not, we're going to cram people in like sardines, and then we're not going to have a transportation system within our city as well to help when we get to these higher density areas as well.
But the key difference, Councilmember, is their growth is within their borders.
Correct. And while I understand that, even if our growth were to stay within our borders, we're still now requiring to cram people into our only allowed areas we have left. Correct.
Again, if we're sticking with your current borders, which is all we can plan on at this point, if you're going to grow, it will increase your density from your 6 point to, we're saying a minimum, an average of 7. Doesn't mean everything has to be 7, but yes, as long as your borders are still the same, to accommodate the growth of the region, we do need to increase density a little bit to accommodate that growth down here. I want to make sure you're aware, your current density is already over 6, so it's not a huge jump. And you do have the tool of annexation. We just can't plan on that until it happens.
And while I understand that we're at kind of that 6.5 range currently, it does take away the rights of the city and the rights of the developers who are trying to develop our land. And it is already hard to come by getting developments as well. So I just want the Met Council to understand that it's not making anything easier for the cities moving forward with this. It's going to only make it harder moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember House.
I'm having a hard time understanding why precedent and history doesn't have any say in your, it's what, 25 years, 30 years down the road. Can you go briefly into why history doesn't matter?
Can I ask what history you're referring to?
Annexation history.
I can't speak for staff. I will speak for myself as someone who served on many advisory committees. I have been on advisory committees with cities that were completely behind a certain direction, a certain project, and one election cycle later, we're all of a sudden no longer in favor of that direction or that project. Yes, we have a long track record and a long history, but that still isn't a promise. It isn't something we can budget on any more than your staff can budget on how much land are we going to annex in the next 10 years and how many new housing units are we going to do. The housing market, the open market's going to decide that, but we can't forecast it any better than your teams can. And so that's the reason we have to stick with what we know, not what we think.
I'm an auditor, so trends are a big part of my job, and I think John and I can have a discussion later about trends in historical forecasting. I'm still having a hard time understanding how this is okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Berachel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mark, for being here. Thank you for answering these questions, especially kind of on the spot. It's obvious that you're very passionate and knowledgeable about this, as was John when you were going through all of this. I was like, man, John has hit his flow. This is, I can tell that you were really loving this. I'm worried. But I echo the passion of my fellow council members here. But just to completely play this out so that me and the 2 people that are watching tonight. Oh, there's nobody watching tonight. Maybe if one day somebody watches, but thank you, Lindsay, for taping this. So what happens, play this out for me, right? We push back, we say no, what happens? What does the Met Council do? What do we do? How do we get our hands slapped? Is it funding? Is it a lawsuit? Is it, what happens?
Well, so
We say no, we're not going to do that.
that will go to our staff. Whether there are opportunities today, again, I'm speaking as a policymaker,
Sure.
not as a member of that.
I get it.
I will assume they will look at it, but for the reasons I've said, I wouldn't think that immediate passage is going to make an immediate change. I think it will strengthen your position on potential changes as the city itself changes. If we do annexation and we change those borders, that could be just another reminder to staff, go, okay, they really want to re-examine this. But I don't think the resolution itself is going to make a change today. if things stay the way they are then, resolution or not. Right now, I'm expecting you're gonna have a 7 population density guidance of 7 housing units per acre. Again, you still have your land use definitions. Doesn't mean everything has to be 7 or greater. You have land use where you might say, hey, this is medium density, which is, I think it's 4 to 6, not 100% positive. But you build in the medium density. You throw some townhomes in there too, you might help give yourself some buffer from a bigger hit down the road. But you will probably have development opportunities that will also be high density with infill in the heart of the city. It's a jump, but it's not like tomorrow or the day that the comp plans get adopted that everything is 7 or greater. Your land use is going to dictate what is built in what density in what parts of the city. End of the day though, that has to average as you build out. If it were to all get built out, it needs to average to 7 or higher.
What happens if it doesn't?
Then it doesn't.
I can live with
You're,
that.
but
That
you've
doesn't-
got to follow the land use guidance. You can't build low density development if your land use says high.
Okay.
And if you use up all the low density because everyone wants 1 acre lots, you're going to be pushing yourself into medium and high density developments pretty quick.
Okay,
Sorry if I'm in the weeds here.
yeah. John, when we have a development, is there not an ordinance that states the developer has to give so much footage, yardage, to a property, right?
Right, we have minimum lot size required.
Thank you. What is that?
Depends on the zoning districts. We have single-family ones that are different
Okay.
from townhomes and multiple families.
So, I'm looking for your expertise. I think we all are.
On this issue, Madam Mayor, I stand on my position. I wish we had more support, frankly, from our representative from Metropolitan Council on this one. I don't believe that, I believe that he's asking staff, which I appreciate. I didn't see a position taken from him on this one to advocate for us, which I believe is disappointing, but that's the way it is tonight. I'm not real confident of anything moving forward that's going to change this tonight, which is very disappointing to me, considering that the deadline was not that far missed on this one, and the implications are larger than I believe they are compared to other comparable cities. I think I bring forward good arguments. I've had many meetings with the Metropolitan Council staff, and I'm getting the right one. Where I'm at right now essentially is we will have to do this. We can do this. It's not preferable. I believe it's not being treated fairly. And I think I'm done with my soapbox.
I appreciate that, John. And Mark, I just want to say, you're our representative. You should be hearing what this council is fighting for, and you should be advocating for us to reiterate what John just stated.
And I've been in communication with staff behind the scenes from December with our first emails. I agree with our staff's interpretation as it is. We can differ on whether missing the deadline by 1 day or 1 month is debatable, but we missed the deadline for the appeal. That was a big one. But at the same point, we only met in person today, so my promises, haven't had a lot of time to deliver on them, but I will be meeting with staff to find a way to see if we can use your future annexation to help alleviate some of the density challenges that you would have with your current borders.
To make one more point, from everything you told us, thank you, I see things like that. But even if we had not missed it by a day, say a day before we had a field, it doesn't sound like you or staff would have agreed with us anyway. Is that
Well,
interpretation?
again, if you would appeal, there's a lot of appeals that go on in my 23 communities, and staff met with all of them, and there were adjustments made along the way with all of those communities. An appeal also would have given you the option to go all the way into the court center to get outside appeal. Would staff have looked at it differently? I can't speak for staff. And if other things would have come up in those discoveries and in those appeals, potentially, but I can't hypothesize on what would have happened if that had happened.
But you've also just told us that you don't really look at historical information anyway, so I guess one annexation probably would be a difference.
When we're making a 30-year plan, we base it off of the facts today.
Thank you, Councilmember Britt. Councilmember House.
Thank you for coming, Mayor. Appreciate your time. So, and John, I just wanted to confirm with you if this would, I can't remember if it was after I had, this would affect any of our current developments coming in or proposed developments.
Councilmember, I don't believe so. The way I understand from Metropolitan Council staff is this goes into effect at that deadline date of December of 28. So for example, Pleasant Valley Farms would not be impacted by this, but it will have impact as we move forward.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Any other discussion? Then I would look for. Oh, sorry. Sorry. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. That motion prevails. Thank you, Representative. Tonight, under administration. Thank you, John. Tonight, under administration, we do have a PFAS update. As usual, the first meeting of the month. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Monthly PFAS update, obviously, construction continues. There are two different construction companies on the first phase of it. A1 Excavating started, they paused over the winter, but they came back starting a couple of weeks ago. And construction's resumed. The last couple of weeks have all but completed boring in the water lines. And I believe as of today, they were needing to close and detour the road in order to connect those two lines. So construction continues on the raw water mains. Magnate Construction, the other contractor working on the site, continues doing underground excavation and pipe installation. This is expected to complete in mid-April, so everything's weather permitting. We expect pouring of concrete footings on schedule in mid-April, so a couple weeks out. We are presently scheduling meetings with key legislators this month to discuss our state bonding request. And the last piece I have is that we have had a couple of closed session meetings to discuss potential environmental litigation and action on that as well. That I can take questions.
Any questions, Council? Okay. Also under administration, we will be going into a closed meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13B.05, Subdivision 3B, for attorney-client privilege communication litigation for Pizza on 50th and Furnace, Inc., DBA Carboni's Pizza of Hastings versus City of Hastings. First, we'll do any reports and announcements, then we'll go into closed session afterwards. We'll briefly return to open session to formally adjourn the meeting. We will also go into a closed meeting pursuant Minnesota Statute 13B.05, Subdivision 3B, for attorney-client privilege communication pending litigation for environmental litigation. Council, any announcements? I do have a few. Hang on one sec. Okay, this Wednesday, April 8th, the city of Hastings Chamber of Commerce hosts the State of Community with presentations and discussion by the city and the school district. We recognize next week is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. We thank Dakota 911 for their service to our community. The Friends of Pleasant Hill Library used book sale is April 16th to the 19th. Meetings coming forward, Wednesday, April 8th, the Arts and Culture Commission has been canceled. Thursday, April 9th, there is a 6 p.m. HEDRA meeting. Monday, April 13th, 6 p.m. there is a Planning Committee meeting and a 7 p.m. Planning Commission meeting. Tuesday, April 14th, 7 a.m. Joint Powers Committee meeting. Thursday, April 16th, 6:30 p.m. Public Safety Advisory Commission. Monday, April 20th, 5:30 City Council Workshop, joint meeting with the school board. 7 p.m. Council regular meeting. All those in, let's see, I would seek a motion to close the, sorry. I was on the wrong page. Okay, closed door session. The city council meet in closed session for an attorney-client privilege discussion of litigation strategy regarding Pizza on 50th and France, Inc., DBA Carbonis in Hastings versus City of Hastings. City Attorney Cynthia Kirchhoff to present confidentially is necessarily in order to allow a candid and open discussion with the city council about litigation, including defense strategies and possibilities for a resolution. Such a discussion happening in open session would jeopardize the city's legal position. Closing the meeting is authorized by Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3B. I will therefore seek a motion to move into closed door meeting on that basis. Councilmember Campbell, Councilmember House has a second. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. City Council will now move into closed door session. No voting will occur and no action will be taken in the closed door session.